research was done in an estuary along the Long Island Sound. Estuaries are the most important ecosystems in the world because of all the services they provide in their small areas, which is why they need to be protected. They are formed where a freshwater river or stream meets a body of saltwater, like the Long Island Sound.
Yeah, in that bucket.
Here we're seining the water to capture specimens to gain insight on the health of the ecosystem. We're now sorting the specimen by species. These fish range anywhere from juveniles to fully developed adults. One of the species we found is a stickleback, being held here by Miss Marlowe. Sticklebacks use the shallow waters as breeding grounds. Small fish like this provide food for larger fish. Without these smaller fish, the populations of the larger fish that drive the fishing industry would decrease, taking away many people's livelihood.
The diversity and abundance of prey fish and sport fish like flounder was increased in this estuary since 2012 when the tidal flow was restored.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Since the restoration, we have seen biological diversity increase steadily from year to year. This is John using a refractometer to measure the salinity of the water. So the salinity in estuaries varies greatly depending on the time of day. Here, turbidity is being measured. It is a measurement of how cloudy the water is. If the water becomes too turbid, then the plants on the bottom will be less productive. Here's John again measuring the phosphate levels in the estuary. Phosphate is a limiting resource which controls populations. Phosphate is found in fertilizers and animal waste. If too much phosphate is present in an ecosystem, then eutrophication may occur. Soil in estuaries is very high in organic content, which means that the soil here has a very large O horizon in comparison to other soils.
I'm just working on my map of the site. I think it's come along pretty well. We just used the core for the sediment pack.
Here, Allie and Cameron are discussing what would be the most effective way to measure the rate at which water is flowing in the estuary. They placed a floating object in the water and measured its displacement over a 60-second period.
We measured the level of the tide by marking where the water was in the sand every 60 seconds with a stick.
Why do we love estuaries?
Estuaries allow extensive amounts of nutrients to be cycled and provide flood control and nursery grounds for all kinds of marine life. And as our teacher says, they are a ton of fun to frolic in. But they are disrupted by many of the activities of humans. We allow runoff from our farmlands to reach estuaries. Runoff is rich in nitrates and phosphates, two of the limiting resources in aquatic ecosystems. With the addition of these resources, we see an increase in respiration, which robs fish and other organisms of essential oxygen and causes biological processes to cease, which is the definition of eutrophication.
Also, they exist on the coast, so people would prefer to obliterate them and use the land for commercial real estate, like hotels, which is another threat to estuaries.
Costanza et al. Believes they should be protected from people because of their value, and that is a belief our class has come to share.